Mind, body, and soul. The information is the goal. Try to learn something new without being distracted.
I want to say that I'm really excited about today's discussion because I've talked about this book a little bit with a bunch of different members, and I think it's going to be kind of a funny day, especially if anyone's going to be chip chirring or whatever.
No.
Because there's a lot of that in the book, which I think will make it like kind of funny. So I'm really looking forward to see what people have to say. And I also want to say that like I love this book and it's totally my book, but I realize that it is really not many people's book, maybe. I don't know. So I won't take anything personally if you're just like, oh my God, I couldn't even. So, just let her rip. That's what I want to say.
Right on. Thanks for front loading, Mare.
Yeah.
Mental note.
I think probably
we can
Jon
be
Young
honest.
knows also that not everyone is as passionate about nature and birds as he is too. He knows that. So.
I'll just jump in then, since you front loaded. I really liked the beginning of the book, and I finished the book, and the last chapter I thought was the best chapter of all. But the middle was like agonizing for me to get through. Like, he lost me there because he went into too much detail about each individual type of bird, and that's where he lost me. Like, I didn't really care that like the one bird does chirp, chirp, chicky, 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 and another bird does chicky, chicky, wow, wow, or whatever he wrote. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, just, can we get to more stories? Like, I really liked his stories, but every time he went into like detail about each individual type of bird, I was just like, oh God, can we get, I
had to read this part.
Listen to the audio. Yeah, I'm not doing any of that. But he did make me pay more attention to birds, like a lot. I had moments where I was sitting in my sit spot because me and my husband have breakfast on our balcony after the kids go to school. And there's like tons of birds that we can see on our balcony. And one is like a little sparrows have like a nest near us and stuff. But the interesting thing, so we're sitting there having breakfast, and all of a sudden I heard a whole bunch of different birds do alarms, and I was like, oh, okay. And then silence, nothing, like not even a tweet anywhere. And then 30 seconds later, a bird of prey flew over. And I was like, oh my God, I paid attention and I saw it.
I received the alarm.
I listened to the language and I saw the alarm. So I told my husband, he's like, great, wonderful. I was like, well, I'm at least using the book. But it was a real struggle for me to finish the book. Like, I had to push myself. The middle section was very dry for me.
I agree that the chapter called From Collision to Connection, that was like one of the last, maybe that was the last chapter before the appendix. That one was the best. It's like, yes.
Best?
Yeah.
Did
the middle,
get to that?
there's like lots of detail in the middle, but like if you didn't read that one, because that one's kind of like nice where you're like,
no one else
we
read
should
that one?
connect.
Okay, so that one, the reason it was so great was, so a couple of things. So he told you the chapter before, he told you the different things the birds do, the shapes they do when they're escaping things, which was also very dry. But one of them is called a bird plow, which is like all the birds fly out straight, like as fast as they can, like a plow, right? And he said majority of the time, this is in the last chapter, it's because of humans, because we're so unaware, they're just looking along, that all the birds fly as fast as they can out of wherever we are, and all the other animals pay attention to that. So that's why we never see deer or wolves or foxes, because the bird plow. And he said, if you see a bird plow when you're in the forest, if you put a timer on for 2 minutes, it's called the 2-minute rule, you'll see a human walk through the forest where the birds were flying from. You'll see.
I like that. He had like the rings. He's like, this is your disturbance ring, and this is like your awareness. I don't know. He had two different names for the rings, and if you can like not disturb the birds, then you can start like seeing those different animals and all that stuff.
Oh, here it is.
Pre-warn them.
I'm flipping through because I was looking for a sentence, and I think I found the rings.
Yeah.
That's the picture. Yeah, that's the rings. Yeah. So the bird plow is usually
almost there.
humans.
Yeah, for anyone who didn't finish the book, which I'm assuming some didn't, you might want to read that chapter, because that chapter was like, yeah, like we're humans are almost like we're an oddball in nature, whereas we're not paying attention, everyone else is, and we're just like disturbing everybody. And the birds, because all of their actions are about like conserving energy, they're being scared even when they don't have to be. Like, you know, a lot of people aren't there to eat a bird or whatever. But yeah, just the idea that you can connect better, but you have to pay attention first.
Also, another thing that chapter was really interesting, he said that his son was in the woods doing one of the exercises with one of the groups he had, and he was in a bad mood. And because his son knows lots about bird language, being his son, he said he was in a bad mood. He went in the forest, he did it, and the birds were all reacting and just kept on reacting, like in alarms and stuff, because of his presence. And he realized that he wasn't shaking this bad mood and that he should probably just leave. And when he left, other people in the program saw the bird plow, and they all monitored, and he's like, I was the bird plow. I was in a bad mood and I couldn't shake it, and the birds were just telling me, you're not connecting with any of us, like you should leave.
There's something wrong with that human.
Basically.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with you. And he, because of the birds, realized, oh, I am in a bad mood, I should just quit.
Oh
I'm happy.
God, like how fucking, like as if it's not bad enough, you're in a bad mood, and now even the birds
Now you shall be punished.
It's like, like you don't like you're unhappy already. Not even nature
Get out of
accepts you
here.
anymore.
Yeah.
Nature accepts you. Terrible. Oh yeah. Did the birds ever think that maybe they were the cause of his bad mood? Yeah. Stupid
Stop
birds.
all that tweeting.
Birds.
Yeah. They had a meeting about it afterwards.
Yeah. Well,
that's just really cool. Like, it really just goes to show you that like emotions are contagious. You know, like regardless of like what type of emotion, that even if you think you're like, oh, I don't need to, because like sometimes I'll be bothered by something, but I won't be at the place where I can talk about it out loud. But I shouldn't convince myself that I'm still not impacting the lives of others that are around me. That
including the birds.
Including the precious birds.
All the animals as well.
Yeah.
Especially the birds. They're very sensitive.
They're very sensitive. Reading that, Kara. You're not tricking the birds.
No. No deception here.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I've never not let society know, but I don't usually keep my discontent a secret. The other problem, the birds are always like, "Fuck, bitch, why you gotta make it about you?" Yeah, I think it's so true how contagious it is. I was thinking recently about that, and it's like, you know, for instance, like your work environment really impacts you, and if there's a good crew in there, or like you just all vibe or whatever. And then I was thinking about like, what does it mean if I'm always around people that are in pain? Like, I wonder what that energy, even though the energy is generally pretty light, I was like, I wonder how that could be impacting me. Like, people generally feel vulnerable all the time around me. Also, you could frame it that you're around people who are exhibiting strength, right? As they, I like your flip. That was a perfect pancake flip. As they manage you did that flip without a spatula. That was beautiful. Oh, I love that. Okay, great. I like that. I like that better. Yeah. Yeah. Energy's so contagious. I don't not like the book. It's just not my book. I thought it was a very sweet book, and I felt like I just wanted to like give this guy a hug, and he's just like really cool. I love people that are passionate about things, and I think it's really cool that he's so passionate about it, and that like even from like so young, he was just out there birding, and like he just developed a whole life around it, and I think that's really cool. It's just not my book for me, but I'm gonna give it to our mom, Kara, and I's mom, and I think she'll be super into it.
She's gonna devour it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's gonna bird away.
But
also
love birds, eh?
Yeah, she loves
like
birds.
loves.
Yeah. So I think I'm like, yeah, because at one point in the household there was like
There's too many,
13 to 20 birds. So maybe I have an aversion to birds, but
You know what that makes me think of? The first time I ever came to your house and Kara opened the door, the two dogs came running, and then the parrot came swooping down at me, and I remember Leah was there being like, "We're sorry," and I was like, "What?" And I was like, they're like, "Shut the door, the bird," and I was like, "What?" And then the other little dog attacked the bigger dog and was like biting its neck.
Oh
like,
yeah,
Bridget.
Bridget. Oh my God. She was always getting mad at Buddy
all the time, and Buddy would just take it until a certain point, and then he'd just be like, "Enough."
I forgot about Buddy.
And it was just like, oh, I love Buddy. He was great.
Totally.
Totally. Buddy. But yeah, it is a bit alarming to go into a home and no one give you a heads up
with
that, and by the way,
exotic
we
birds.
don't train our dogs. They have unruly behavior. Yeah, and we don't keep our birds in cages. They will be flying over dogs.
And they're like, "Shut the door!" And I'm like, "Oh!" And then I was there once when one of the lovebirds got out, and we had to like chase it through the neighborhood. So when it died,
we had to just give up.
We got it back.
Like, what are you gonna do? Oh,
I think it
that was one of the times.
One time it came back. Then the other time when they had moved off the Balmoral house to the North Shore house, that's when.
Find its way back.
Birds,
the funny thing is, like when we were talking during the Talking to Strangers episodes, we talked about how Sarah was a flighter when she's panicked. So when there's a bird flying at her, like a large tropical bird, and you're like, just like close the door, she's thinking like, should I be in or out? Because her instinct would be run away from this like bird coming at her.
Totally.
Just close the door and
but at least she knows how to react quickly.
Do you want to hear a funny story, but it's actually really
I hate
sad.
funny stories.
No, you hate things that are enjoyable, that are easy on the ears. So the one beautiful being Rupert, the African gray parrot, which Rupert. I want to say on camera, I'm really just against people owning these tropical birds if you can avoid it. But once you're stuck in, you're stuck in. They can live for like 20 plus years, I think. Yeah. So
I was like 80, like long time.
A very long time.
It's like didn't make 80, but you also should not have dogs, probably not of the terrier breed, and
intermingling with the tropical birds.
However, it is nice to have birds that you don't clip their wings and that they can go exploring and stuff. Rupert the bird and Johnny the Jack Russell were kind of always playing this little risky, dicey game. Like he'd swoop and Johnny would try and get him, whatever. Eventually, Rupert lost the battle. And my dad calls me and my mom's in the background and they're like, "We got bad news, kiddo." And they told me what had happened and Johnny got Rupert. And I was like, "Oh my God, guys, I'm so sorry. That's so sad. Would you like to bring him up to the farm and bury him?" And he's like, Mom's like, "No!" in the background. "It's okay." And I was like, "Okay, well, what'd you do with him?" He's like, "Just put him in the compost. Anyways, I'll talk to you later." And I was like, "What's the matter with you?"
Leah and I had a harder time moving on than my parents.
Compost birds. I mean, you can. Isn't that fucked up? I guess it's only funny to me.
Yeah. It was like, when does it get funny?
Sad.
It is sad. Because it was just funny because they were like so sad, and then it was just like such a.
They're so attached. Your mom was so attached to the bird, right? That's why it's like you just
surprised me. Compost, really?
Do feathers compost?
Not a funny story.
He's very practical, though. It isn't funny. It was tragic.
No,
you know what? Here's a funny story about Rupert. Do you want to hear a funny story about Rupert? So I was once again at your parents' house. Your mom had me do ironing for her and your dad to make extra money. So I was at your mom's house ironing and your parents weren't there. And I heard the phone ring and then your dad saying, "Hello, Bob and Bean." And I was like, "Oh, I thought I was alone." So I went down. I was like, Max, are you there?" Nobody's home. I'm like, that is so weird. So I go back upstairs. And then it happens again. And I'm like starting to freak out. I was like, "Max, you're scaring me now. I'm here." Nothing. And so I go back up And then it happens again. So I don't go back up. I like kind of like hide out in the laundry room. And it was Rupert. He was going,
It was Rupert.
Like a phone ringing and going,
ringing the bell.
hello,
Huh?
Max Bean. Hello, Max
Hello.
Bean.
Oh.
And he'd ring and then do the
That's
next beat,
awesome.
but he'd wait till I was out of the room. Made me
He's
nuts.
so clever.
I was like,
A little trickster.
that's so clever.
He is.
Cool.
He was wonderful. Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that
It
story.
sounded
And
just
I
like
love
your
how
dad.
you
He
were
was
like the
amazing.
third time, you're like, I'm going to get that Max. I'm going to find him. And then you're like, oh, it wasn't Max at all. It was
Oh,
the
dear.
bird.
Something's going on.
Like it wasn't just about imitating or regurgitating the words. It was the like
Tones.
tone.
So it sounded like Max, exactly like him.
It was
Like,
crazy.
I thought your dad was home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just this
We
little
gotta watch what you
bird.
say around those birds.
Yeah.
Book interrupted. Oh, I'm just out for a stroll in Burlington. Oh, look who I'm interrupted by.
Don't tell our
Wait,
husbands!
hold on. Ah. Wait, how do I show you?
Oh no! Oh, excuse me.
Our interruption, we're together! Book interrupted.
I'm visiting my mom, and like usually when I'm outside, it's like in the forest or whatever. But here she's got a really nice park by her place, and so we've been going for a walk in the park since I've been here. And I think like, you know how in the book he talks about like the bird baseline where they're relaxed and they're like eating and like talking to their mate or whatever, and they're not stressed. I think the birds here get back to baseline way faster because there's a lot of people in the park. Like they'll be there like happily chirping, and then you get like silence, and then you'll see something come along or whatever, or you get like, you hear the alarms. But they go, you know, like in the book, he's like, you have to sit for at least half an hour in your sit spot before you'll hear or see anything, you know, like, and here it's like way faster. We go for like a half-hour walk, and if we just like stop, it's like fine. So, you know, I think part of it is he doesn't really go to the parks because he's like such a nature guy. He's probably go and seeing more wild birds. But like the park birds, like they're, oh, you know what I also saw at the park? This is like not a bird thing, but I was out sitting in the park. So like, oh, I'm going to sit in this park and see what's there, right? And I saw the strangest human behavior. So this person pulls up in their car and like parks by the side, and they put down their window, and there's like a million squirrels out right now. The squirrels hop over and the seagulls swoop down to it. I was like, what's going on here? They open their window and they throw stuff out the window, and it's not like garbage. It's like they're feeding the animals. They brought like food. So you know, like how peaceful it is to go to the park and like feed the squirrels or the birds. I feel like they just didn't have the time. So they like pulled up and like threw food out their window. Animals came and ate it.
Squealed out of there.
Yeah, there's like, I feel like it's like a sad commentary. Like maybe they were younger and they used to go to the park and like feed the animals, had this connection, and now they're like super busy and scheduled. They're like, well, I still want to feed them, but I have no time. Take the food and then get out of here. Like it was
Drive-by
very
feeding.
Maybe it's a COVID thing.
A COVID thing.
No.
Maybe
Or
it's a bird
just-
flu thing.
I don't know. But like, and the funny thing is that part, there's a lot of squirrels are just right there. I guess the other thing about the park is like all the animals are really chubby, and I think they get fed. So I think everyone's territory is like really small, because like the squirrels we walk around, they start fighting because they have this tiny little territory around, I guess, where people pull up their car and throw food out the window. I don't know.
Launch snacks.
It's like, how relaxing. Right? But it also
How
seemed a little
relaxing.
sad, like a sad commentary on our like
relaxing.
very busy modern schedules.
If you believe the
Absolutely,
story that
yeah.
you made up for it.
I know, I made up
like
that
your
story.
Right? Like maybe it was
Yeah.
stolen grain. They're like, get rid of the
Oh my
evidence.
The
gosh.
cops are after me. They're on to us.
They just robbed a bakery.
Destroy the
Get rid of the
evidence.
evidence. Yeah. You're funny.
Stolen grain.
If you've enjoyed these video highlights, listen to the full episode on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember to like and subscribe and ring that bell to be notified when new episodes are published. Find out more by going to www.bookinterrupted.com.
Never forget, every child matters.